Hello, everyone. Good to see you, and welcome to the Los Angeles Housing Department office hours for the Homes for LA NOFA. Today is September 16th, 2015, and we will have office hours open until 5 p.m. I like to know who is on the call, just so I know who I'm talking with. So I'm gonna call you out by name and ask you to introduce yourself and ask you about what organization you're with. And then I will just kind of go based on the icons on my screen. I'll let people ask one question at a time. So Jessica. Chiudian, do you want to go first?
Yeah, hi. I'm with Stable House and Strain PC. We are consultants and our clients are the developers who mainly go for these applications. So I'm planning to do a couple, new construction, mostly one operating assistant. So I just have a few questions to come across all the different projects we sometimes have. So,
Cool. Nice to meet you. Fireflies AI. That one looks a little sketchy. Fireflies AI note taker Samantha. Don't know who that is, but Ryan, you just turned on your camera, so you get bonus points.
You can kick out that Firefly. That's a colleague of Ryan and I's.
Okay. Adam, can you help me with that? Would you mind helping me with that?
Are we
Okay.
doing no video? Did I miss something? Should I turn off my video?
No, you didn't miss anything. You're just one of the only people with video on besides me, so I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and kind of just tell me what you're applying for, who you're with, all that.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Yeah, Chris Montez, Logos Faith Development. We're a private, affordable developer based out of the West Side with the development footprint primarily in Los Angeles, also San Diego, and a site in Denver and a site in Portland. We partner with churches that have excess land or underutilized land, and we develop housing on that land. So we have a pipeline of about 2,000 units throughout San Diego and Los Angeles now. It's going through the entitlement process. And I'm our CIO or Chief Investment Officer, and then Ryan, who's on with us, he's our head of development. So thank you for making the time for us.
Great, nice to meet you. Wanjiku, you're up.
Hi, I'm Wanjiko Gashiri. I'm with Alliant Communities. We're a for-profit, affordable, and attainable housing developer. And we're looking to apply for new construction in those pools that are available for profit organizations. And I'm happy to be here. Thanks for hosting these office hours.
Nice to meet you. Joanne, Kim?
Hi, I work at Logos on the investments team directly with Chris Montes, who you just met. And I help out with anything from underwriting, investor relations, lender management, and etc. So happy to be here.
He does
Cool.
all the work for me, Hannah.
Okay. Bryce.
Yeah, hi. I work for EAH Housing, a nonprofit developer here in the state of California, and I think we have a few applications being submitted through this NOFA, but mine involves a preservation project. So happy to be here and thanks for hosting.
Cool. A couple more. Esperanza.
Hi, I'm Esperanza. Good afternoon. I am here with Fideicomiso Comunitario Tierra Libre, a community land trust in Boyle Heights, and we're looking to apply for new construction. And thank you for hosting this space as well.
Yeah. Spencer and then Tamar.
Spencer Stewart, American Family Housing. Looking to apply for a rehab project.
Great. Thanks. And Tamar?
Hi, I'm Tamar. I'm a consultant at Benori Consulting and Development. I am working with a client that's interested in applying to the ULA Alt Mods Preservation programs.
Cool. All right. I'm gonna just call on people the way I see them on my screen and do my best to give everyone an opportunity to ask at least one question. Just as a reminder, we do take questions via email and on the UNOFA portal. So if your question isn't answered here, you can submit those in those places. Also, this is recorded and you're welcome to join as many of these as you want. Okay, Chris Montes, I'm gonna start left and go like that. So why don't you go first? And also, sorry, I will do my best to answer all the questions on the fly that I can. Some questions that we've gotten in these office hours have been policy decisions that I can't make unilaterally on this call right now, and I'll get back to you. So go ahead, Chris.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you for making the time. I have two questions. I'll just do one to be fair.
Thanks.
So ULA Alternative Models Preservation is the bucket of capital where my question lies. We have 3 development sites here in LA. One's completed and stabilized. 2 of them are under construction, about to be nearing construction in the next 2 or 3 weeks and starting pre-leasing. These are all affordable properties with some supportive services. We are one of 3 partners in those developments. The other partners want to sell the developments. We do not want to sell it, and we own roughly 6% of each of those developments today. I'm just wondering if this ULA alt models preservation bucket of capital would allow us capital to buy out our other investors to preserve these properties as affordable.
That's a great question. The answer is I don't know. My initial reaction is maybe not, only because that money is intended to be used for recapitalization on a project that is already that is already owned by the sponsor that intends to keep it. Do those properties have expiring covenants by any chance?
They do not have expiring covenants,
Okay.
but we are an owner of the property now, so we do own it. But just at a minority interest that, if the property was to be sold, these properties would go to another, prospective.
Right, I understand. Yeah. I can't remember if you said this. Are you a nonprofit?
We are a for-profit developer, but our partners are nonprofits. So we partner with a variety of churches, and then we have some different 501(c)(3)s for the California welfare tax exception that we partner with as well.
And would they be part of the ownership structure in this buying out scenario?
They would, yeah, the church, this development site is actually, all these development sites are adjacent to churches that are clients and partners of ours. And those churches would be in those organizational structures with us. So they would own, call it 40 or 50% of the collateral with us.
Okay, so ULA has most all of the ULA funds have a pretty strict provision in them that nonprofits are required to be definitely in the ownership structure, if not the primary owner. I would have to consult with our city attorney on that to understand if their interpretation of the measure would allow for a partial ownership of future property that would be facilitated by ULA dollars. So the answer is maybe. I don't know for sure, but we are recording this and I can get back to you. We will get back to you in our questions that get posted on the website, if not sooner. So sorry, I don't have a more clear answer, but.
That's okay. If we come back around, I have a second question on different, but I'll yield my time. Thank you.
Okay. Wanjiku? Sorry.
No, that's fine. The U makes the O sound, so it's Wanjiko.
Okay.
Yeah, but I appreciate your effort. I like Chris, I do have a few, but I'll just ask one for now. And hopefully it's pretty straightforward. I was just hoping that you could expand on that entitlement and readiness, like threshold document. I know in the regs you list, you say such as, and there's a list of documents. And I was just wondering if there are other examples of how we can show entitlement readiness, especially with the existence of like AHEP and the ability to go straight to LADBS with plan check.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because we actually met with planning today to talk
Oh.
about this, and
Mhm.
we're going to be meeting with DBS at the end of the week. Our goal is to publish a list of acceptable documents in coordination with those two agencies within the next week, because there have been a lot of questions about this, but there's an affordable housing incentive program that the planning department has available. We're not accepting letters that say a project will be eligible for that program because that timeline still requires it's still like a 6 to 9 month time period until the project actually has entitlements. So I can tell you that document is not acceptable. And essentially, I guess what we're really looking for is like the project is pretty much ready to go. Like you could start construction within less than like a month. So, like I said, we're going to be posting that on the website and you should stay tuned for that. I hope that's sort of answers your question.
Oh, so you're saying for the piece you're saying of letters you wouldn't accept, so whether it's from like an IACP planner or a land use attorney or anything like that, you wouldn't accept a letter that's saying this would be eligible for said thing. You need a document from either planning or LADBS. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
Bryce?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. In the regs, under document 6, phase 1 requirements, it suggests that all projects involving quote unquote major construction and or rehabilitation will need to submit a phase 1. What exactly qualifies as a major rehab?
Yeah, we actually, I believe, had this question come up already on our
Okay,
through our Q&A. I'm not gonna waste time looking for it. Take a quick look. I'm actually gonna share my screen if I can do that. Um, nope, I can't do that. Adam, can you please in the chat send our website? So if you go down to the bottom, just as we're talking, take a quick look through those Q&A to answers. If you can find the answer there, great. If not, I will come back to you
okay, great.
on this call.
Yeah, there's 2 Q&As from the 2 previous meetings, right?
Yes, and actually they're not necessarily from the meetings. It's a combination of questions we've gotten through email, in the meeting, like all
Okay,
places. So take a quick look at those while we're on this call, and then if you can't find the answer, then we'll come back to you.
understood. Thank you.
Tamar?
I had a question about the replacement unit determination. Is that something that needs to be like submitted? I know there's like a 30-day leeway to submit that for a project that's doing just like cosmetic rehab and that there's not going to be any, demolishing of any units or anything like that. Do you still need to submit to get a letter back saying, no replacement unit is necessary, or just count it as not applicable for the application?
So you're saying, and I'm just pulling up the regs really quick, but you're saying if the project is doing capital repairs that won't move anybody, do you still need to submit a RUD? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
If you're not displacing anybody, so the RUD is a requirement for projects that are demolishing like a unit. So if I am going in and I'm demolishing a unit of any kind, then I'm required to submit a plan that says this is how I'm going to replace that unit. Doesn't sound like you're doing any sort of demo. So I'm inclined to say no, because of that. So I'm going to say no
Mhm. Okay.
in answering the question, which was if you have a project where you're doing cosmetic. When you say cosmetic, can you just give me a quick example?
Painting, floor replacement, some casework, probably a new roof, which is I know more of like a major capital improvement, but still would not require. Yeah.
So a RUD is not required. A relocation assessment is required.
Okay.
So you might not be actually relocating anybody, but we need to know we need to see that you've completed a relocation assessment, meaning a relocation consultant comes in and says,
Mhm.
yep, like you actually do need to relocate these 3 people in these 3 units to a hotel for 5 months because of the roof. We would
Okay.
need to see that so that we can verify that you're budgeting for that and your pro forma. So I think we were getting relocation and RUD confused. Relocation assessment required. And if that indicates that you need to relocate people, we are gonna basically be looking for you to budget for that. A RUD, if you're not demolishing units, not required. Does that make sense?
It does. I was just thinking about if you are budgeting for relocation, you basically need a third-party relocation assessment to support that. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes
Okay.
sense.
Ryan Lehman, you're up.
Oh, sorry I was late. You just mentioned, I missed there was one of the programs required that the construction start within a month. Which program was that?
Oh, I was talking, there was a question about what documentation is required from planning or DBS. And what I was saying is it's not a requirement that the project start within a month. It's that generally we're looking for documentation from the planning or DBS, Department of Building and Safety, that indicates to us that the project is essentially shovel ready. Like that the project isn't going back to planning and building and safety to get all kinds of, you know, acceptance letters and whatnot. And that in the hopefully next week, we're gonna be able to post a list of different documents acceptable by us from those 2 departments.
Not just entitlements, it's actually permit ready.
Probably not, but I don't, it's going to depend. I want to wait to confer with those departments. We have some examples in the regs about what's required. But exact like names of documents we're gonna get from our partners in those 2 departments.
And is that for all of the NOFAs, all of these current fundings for new construction?
Well, yes, I mean, it's yes, for new construction, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Joanne, Kim?
Hi, so my question is about the alternative models new construction bucket. We are currently building a 130 unit property that's 100% affordable with or in partnership with a church, which is a nonprofit, and they will own 40% while we own 60%. Would that still qualify for this pool of funds?
So similar to Chris's question, I don't know what's going to be acceptable by our city attorney based on the interpretation of the ULA language, because ULA does require that the entity be owned by and operated by a nonprofit. Bringing in not nonprofit, so market rate developers is not acceptable or allowable based on the regs as our interpretation is. But I will verify that with you both as a follow-up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Jessica?
Yes, I kind of had a question about relocation as well, mostly in the new construction pool. So a relocation assessment will be required even if it's, say, like a vacant commercial building. There's evidence of no relocation. Is that a narrative that we need to provide, or do we need to have that third party come in and verify?
It would need to be a third party.
Okay, got it.
Okay, that was a short one. Esperanza?
Hi, yes. My question was regarding threshold item document number 4. So our organization, we're a community land trust and our operating budget has not exceeded $2 million. So we have not commissioned an audit, but we do work with a CPA to oversee our books and produce financial reports. And we were wondering, since we're partnering up with a reputable developer, can their audited financials and our unaudited financials be accepted, or are both organizations applying required to submit 3 years of audited financial statements?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think it's a question we actually also had before. And it must be, I think it's published on our website. I can't remember, but you should double check. The short answer is yes. Your partner organization can submit their audited financials and their REO. I would also recommend, however, that you all also, if you're able to also submit what you have, it only supports in our department's ability to underwrite you as a sponsor. But in short, the answer is yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Spencer?
Does any of the ULA funding allow for rehab projects that are currently in construction?
A rehab project currently in construction. Can you explain to me like what the scenario is? Is it like half the project is done, half the project isn't, or something?
Um, it's a project that's about 60% complete that needs additional funding.
So is it gap financing or?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, we don't offer a gap financing program through this Homes for LA NOFA. It's either going to be like preservation, as in the building is already built and has been in service for a number of years, or it's ground up new construction, um, or the operating assistance, which doesn't sound this project wouldn't qualify.
Okay,
So.
thank you.
Sorry about that. Okay. I'm gonna go back to the beginning and try and get everyone again. Chris. And if I forget, if I mess up the order, I'm sorry. I'm gonna do my best. Go ahead.
As long as I get another chance, it's okay, yeah. No, I think my colleagues, Joanne and Ryan, asked the rest of my questions. I kind of had maybe an elaboration question or like a 1B to my first question with you. So understand we need to check with legal on the nonprofit and if the church quasi nonprofit for profit, if that's okay. I'm wondering if maybe there's a different organizational structure because we've done this on other properties. It's not just for the NOFA funds where we have a single asset entity and then beneath that there is a 501c3 nonprofit entity that owns 100% of that. And then behind that is a church partner and us. So effectively it is owned 100% by a 501c3 nonprofit, but you still do have a for-profit. And we're not, just a clarification, I'm not sure if I said this, we don't build any market rate housing. We're all affordable and that's all we do. So it just so happens that we're a for-profit entity. So we're a social impact company. So purpose and profit. So we're not trying to get NOFA funds because we do something else typically. We build affordable. That's all we do. So that structure, if maybe that's a creative workaround that we have done in the past, that maybe would be eligible. I'm not sure.
I mean, I'm open to seeing what structure you all put forward, and I think part of the whole process here is we want to have an open door for different kinds of projects and structures to come in. I don't know. Again, I don't know. I think it's worth proposing, and again, I will follow up because this conversation is going to go beyond this particular question, goes beyond department staff. We do have to check with the attorneys, but if you send a quick email to that Homes for LA email with just like the proposed structure, it might be easier to ask about a specific example than like something that's in the ether.
Okay, we could do that. Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah. Wanjiko.
Okay, my next question, which I hope is also a pretty straightforward one, is when it comes to awarding the projects, my question is if you have, I'll just give number examples because I think that'd be easier. And so let's say you have a pool that's $77 million and you have one project that wins is requesting 40, and then, the other one is requesting 30. And so you have 7 million left. And then the next one is requesting 30, right? Do you then skip to try to find a project that only is requesting 7 million, or do you fund that third project that's going to go over the allotment, or do you just now have a reserve of 7? Just kind of how are you going through to award the dollar amounts?
That's a very good question. I'm not gonna have a clear answer for you, but I can try and help maybe talk to you about how we're prioritizing, and a lot of this is laid out in the scoring criteria, but um we do have a limit on the amount of money we're giving for projects in the pooled sources category. I forget what that limit is. I should know off the top of my head, but we do
Well,
have
I
a
think it's
limit.
like 30% of the, right? Are you talking about that? Like the 30% of the total?
30%, yes, but
Or
like
100?
a total, like if the project's total development cost is super high, I'm gonna make this up, but like $100 million, like we're probably not gonna fund like 30% of that, because I think it goes over what we would award per project. We don't necessarily have that for our higher award projects, but that's something to note. As far as the priority goes, I mean, we're gonna look at projects that score the most competitively. If we have a small amount left over, in one scenario, we may roll that into a NOFA that we release in the spring. So we are gonna be opening another NOFA in the spring. And when I say another NOFA, it's gonna be Homes for LA again with a lot of the same programs. We may amend some program guidelines and loan terms based on how it goes this round. But if we have that small of amount left over, it's just gonna depend on what other projects apply. Is that helpful, or were you looking for something else?
No, that is helpful. I think I would just want to know what that limit is that you're talking about. I feel like I've read the regs enough, and at least what I interpreted from it is that you're really trying to fund like the bulk of projects, so they're not really stuck in trying to fill their capital stacks, which is why you have it as a percentage of the total development cost, whether it's 30 or 100, depending on the pool, rather than previously where it was like you have a dollar amount per unit and then there's a cap per project. I didn't see anything that said there was a cap per project, so I'd just be curious to, or I
Yeah,
would know, like what
that's
that is.
that's true, and I will look. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I thought we had a cap per project. So we have this being recorded, and I will follow up on that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. People moved on my screen, but Bryce, did you find what you were looking for or no?
I did. Yeah, I think I answered my question, or the Q&A answered my question. Uh, Another question that I had was regarding the developer fee on projects applying for both alternative preservation and operating assistance. Um, Alternative models preservation allows for a developer fee, but the operating assistance does not in the regulatory and the regs. Um, what's permitted in that scenario
For developer fee on
for
operating
developer
systems?
fee? Yeah, on projects
Um,
that are applying for both programs.
yeah.
Right.
I don't believe that we're allowing for developer fee on the operating assistance side. I will double check that, but the operating assistance is really intended to be like super short-term cash infusion, 2-year period, pretty much
Right, but
very.
I think we submit the same pro forma, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you would have submitted a pro forma that had the operating assistance tab filled out as well as the preservation tab.
Okay, and in that pro forma, can we show a developer fee if we're also applying for the alternative models preservation?
Under the yes, if you're
Okay,
do that under the alt models preservation tab, not the
okay,
operating systems tab.
okay, I understand.
You won't see an opportunity to do that on the operating systems tab.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Cool. Tamar.
I wanted to go back to, I think it was Wanjiko that asked a question about the entitlement readiness and the various examples of what that could look like. So for an already existing building applying for preservation, would we just be looking to get a letter from like the planning department that says it's like they can apply for permits for a new roof and they can do that within a month? Or what would that look like for like an existing project where the only major capital improvement is a new roof?
Um, if you already have, are you talking about site control, like document 3?
I think it's entitlement readiness. What is it called? It's like slash something something. Give me a second.
Yeah, I'm looking too. Oh yeah,
Entitlement
you're saying
readiness.
for the project scoring?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the building's already built. So entitlement readiness or by right slash ministerial projects, what would that look like? Is it just a letter saying they're gonna get a permit to do a roof? And they're ready to go?
In that case, that's what it would be. Since you aren't doing any major other development. But it would also be if you kind of look into the way it's defined. So I'm not going to try and, but we talk about what that means for preservation versus what that means for new construction in the regs. And so in your case, it would be that from DBS, but since you aren't seeking any sort of like zone change or anything like that, we
Yeah.
wouldn't be looking for anything from planning.
Okay.
Okay. People have shifted around again, but that's okay. Ryan.
Uh, yeah, I don't think I have anything else at the moment, but thank you.
Okay.
This is helpful.
Well, I guess Jessica?
Hi, I had a question about appraisal requirements. So I have a subject property was acquired via like arm's length transaction in October 2020. So it didn't really require an appraisal, based on tax credit rules. But I know we need to provide one for this application. Would one that's prepared this year to provide that as is, as built valuation be sufficient? Because I saw that it needs to be within 180 days of the ownership transfer or within this year if the contract was this year, but both those scenarios don't really seem to apply.
And because you said you acquired it back in 2020 and sorry, can you restate what the scenario was? I'm
So
sorry.
in October 2020, it was transferred. It was arm's length. They were not related parties. So there was no appraisal. You need to provide one for this application. It just, we're over the 180 days and the transfer did not happen this year. So I'm wondering if like how to meet that appraisal requirement or if when we prepared this year would be sufficient.
If it's over 180 days and the regs say 180 days, that would be what we are asking for.
Because it wants it to be within 180 days. Sorry, I might have misspoken.
If the as-built appraisal or the required appraisal is within that 180-day window,
Yeah,
that's okay.
there was not an appraisal prepared for the
Then we would need an appraisal.
for this year, and that would be
Mhm.
okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Esperanza?
Yes, so for ULA alternative models and ULA acquisition and rehabilitation projects, the scoring notes that tenant governance experience may be demonstrated through community agreements, meeting minutes from resident councils, trainings. So I was wondering if would meeting minutes from resident councils of tenants associations that our organization supports but does not own, would this be acceptable as documentation of tenant governance experience?
Can you help me understand what you mean by supports? Like, are you tenant or kind of like tenant organizing type support?
Yeah, there's a building in our community that has like the tenants, they sought assistance from a local community partner and they managed to acquire the building through that community partner and they formed their own tenants association and they reached out to our org to support them with like meetings and like materials to continue organizing.
Yeah, that should be sufficient so long as that's explained.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep. Spencer?
I didn't have an additional question.
Okay. Everyone has I've gone around twice. Maybe if you can raise your hand and I'll try and take questions in the order in which your hand is raised. Wanjiko.
Thank you. I wanted to go back to, I forget who asked it, but there was that question about relocation for vacant commercial buildings. And so I know there's that category of either stating that relocation is needed or providing evidence of no relocation. And so for that, for that second piece, would it be a narrative? Would it be a letter? Like, how are we to show that we aren't, required to do any relocation since it's been vacant for an extended amount of time?
I think we are looking for relocation consultants to be hired to say there's no need for relocation for that site.
Okay, so even
So
if
even
we're saying relocation, you'd need like a actual documentation from a relocation consultant that's saying, okay, you don't need
yeah,
that.
yeah, that would be needed. So like the relocation assessment would basically just say there's no relocation required on this site.
Okay. Thank you
And
for there.
yeah, there's a lot of very strict rules for some of our funding sources on that, specifically the HUD funding source. And also with like the renter protection ordinance and all these different new laws in place require that, even if it seems obvious. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then should I wait for the second round? Because I have one last question, or
No, go for
how
it.
are we doing?
Chris, I'm gonna
Okay.
take your last question, then I'll go to you.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question was about the soils report. I know that in the actual text of the regs, it states that we need the soils report and gives what you're looking for within that. But I did notice that in the list of the documents, it said soils report or I think affidavit from the general partners. And I'm wondering, is that like a carryover from prior NOFAs where you were able to submit a letter stating that you would submit a soils report, or if that is actually an option for this NOFA to do, submit a letter kind of in the same way that like for asbestos and lead-based paint, you can do it, or you can submit a letter that you're going to do it.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. I need to get back to you on that because
Okay.
I think I don't think that is accurate, but I could be wrong, and I want to make sure that we get the right information to you because I know soils reports are really expensive. So, Adam, my colleague who's on the call, if you could just highlight that as a question that goes into the Q&A doc, that would be great. Because I don't remember offhand.
Okay. I submitted it as a Q&A also, so you probably have it. I just,
Oh, you did?
if you have
Okay.
yeah.
Great.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Well, then thank you. You just made my job way easier. I appreciate that.
Anytime.
Chris?
Yeah, I just have two more questions, Hannah. Hopefully they're easy ones. The first is related to the PLA contracts that are required or says it's required for the preservation or new construction. Is there flexibility around that, or is that a hard, fast rule?
Hard and fast.
Hard and fast, okay.
Well, so you know the nuances. PLAs are required for both of the ULA new construction programs, alt and multifamily, no matter the number of units. For preservation, if you get to 40 units or more, that is when the PLA gets triggered. But if you're preserving a 35 unit project and you're seeking all bottles preservation dollars, that's fine. And
Okay.
PLA is not required for pooled sources.
Okay, thank you. And my second question, I saw that the cost of capital on the debt for some of these options said it ranged from 1% to 3%. Could you elaborate on how 1% or 3% or somewhere in between is determined? Is it based off of modeling and feasibility on the city side, or how is that determined?
Sorry, can you tell me what part of the application you're talking about?
Yeah, 1 second.
Or what part of the regs, I mean?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the 76 pager NOFA
Yeah.
program. So on page 17, section
Okay.
2, loan terms and requirements.
Okay. Sorry. I haven't committed this to memory. Okay. Page 17. I'm seeing PSH stuff. Do you know which section?
Yeah, section 2, loan terms and requirements, and then 2.1 is talking
Okay.
about the interest rates.
Oh, okay. So you're wondering the interest rate for residual receipt loans will be 3%, but if that's the statement that you're asking about?
Yes.
Um, so to be honest with you, I don't know the history of why we arrived at 3% simple interest, but that's the interest rate that we've had on our loans since I got to the department. I think the idea is that it's a pretty low interest rate for folks and in line with a lot of the other public lenders in the area, except obviously HCD has a little bit of a different structure as I understand it. They charge 1% interest and then like a fee for loans, a loan fee. So I can get back to you on that. Probably not going to be the top of my priority list at this point, but that's pretty much where we're at with interest rate.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious, like, if 1% is possible, what trigger do you need to get there? Is essentially. But 3% is fantastic too. I'm not complaining. I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
Oh, I see what you're saying. In under what circumstances would we determine a lower interest rate? I
Yeah.
can get back to you on that. I don't think it's going to be super common. It's not super
Okay.
common as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
But
I think I'm good enough with that answer, man. Don't worry about it.
okay, Bryce.
Hey, thanks. Another question on the phase one. The reg suggests that the phase one should include lead-based paint, asbestos, methane, and radon testing. I understand that lead-based paint and asbestos are required for projects built prior to 1979 or 78. What triggers methane and radon testing? Do we know?
I don't know the
Okay,
answer to that question, but if it's required as part of phase one, then I don't think it matters what year it was built, but I can ask. I'm not 100% sure on that.
okay.
Are you wondering, well, do you have a
Well,
specific scenario?
yeah, radon and methane testing are usually additional to the phase one assessment. And so I'm unclear on what exactly is expected in the phase one. Should we include that as well? Or is there a trigger, uh, you know, based on
We
property history?
we probably would have described a scenario in which we wouldn't. I will ask. I don't know the answer
Okay,
to that
yeah,
question.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thanks.
Anjiko.
Do you have an update on the timing of releasing that next Q&A? Because I think on it says
Yeah, we missed last week.
this week, yeah.
Hopefully we can publish on Thursday, basically as much as we've received in the last week and a half. So Thursday of this week, so the 18th.
Okay.
That might not include the questions that we've had today,
Yeah.
but we'll try to do that. And I can even, it's hard, I can chat some people while we're talking who might have the answers to these questions, but I'm not gonna be able to chat everyone. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
And I had one, I just don't have the. Sure.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Just a quick question on another site control question. How would an applicant demonstrate site control if they've owned this land for over like 50 years? Would a grant deed suffice?
Yes.
Okay.
And clean title.
And clean title. Okay. And I have one more on the pooled sources, the HUD requirements.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be certifying through NOFA that you'll comply with Davis-Bacon BABA Section 3. Is that correct? Are there any supplemental documents we'll need to provide specifically for those HUD requirements?
There's one, but it's not related to the labor stuff. And there's a whole section about that in the NOFA the general information notice, I think is what it's called. So I would just encourage you to look through that section. I'm sure you already have, but yeah, we're not, all of the labor compliance work really starts happening when construction starts.
Got it.
So yeah.
I think for NEPA, do you need to provide like the actual EA, or do you just need to provide that estimated approval date that I saw in NOFA?
I think the EA, but I'm not 100% sure. So I will get back to you on that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and then just as a note, all of the exhibits are on our website, and Exhibit 3 is the Section 3 requirements that if you're not familiar with HUD, you might want to look through as well. Chris.
This is my last question, for real this time. ULA alternative models, permanent affordable housing, new construction. I just want to, this is a question related to an answer to a question that was provided earlier by somebody else. Are we required to have RTI permits for new construction projects in order to apply, or could we be going through the entitlement process and be called a couple months away in order to submit?
So the regs say, I think, that we're looking for projects that are entitlement ready, pretty much ready to go. So the short answer would probably be no. But again, we're gonna be posting that list of, proof of documentation from these different agencies about what we're gonna accept for what it means to be entitled.
Okay. And that list was gonna come out when again, Hannah?
We're meeting with everybody on Friday, so I'm hopeful that we can post it next week, which I know is about, I guess you'll still have 30 days to submit your application. So that's our goal.
Okay, thank you.
Go for it. Why'd you go?
Just want to make sure that there's no other questions.
Does anybody have any other questions?
I don't mind waiting. If there's a gap, I'm gonna ask.
Go for it. We've got
Okay.
8 minutes left.
Okay, my other question, one of many other questions, is when it comes to the services, I know there's a big chunk of narratives that we need to include about resident services and our plans for that, et cetera, which then, seems to mean that we would want our service provider included in our development team. So I would want a confirmation on that, and then B, for that, are you also requiring like a contract or an MOU with them, or just that they would be on our team and then can speak to what we would do or what they would do in the development?
Are you talking about building PSH or just affordable?
No, just affordable. But I did notice that there were some narratives there about like how we would do services and, reaching out to them and what we would plan. And I didn't know if that's something that we can speak to what we normally do and what our plan is, or if we would need an actual like resident services provider to speak to that.
I know you're not gonna like this. I don't want to say with sureness that you don't need to have like an MOU. I think what you've normally done for your affordable buildings will likely suffice, but I will confirm that with you. If it was PSH, it would be a different situation.
Yeah.
But if you have providers that you've worked with and you can demonstrate that in the narrative through the UNOFA portal, and you talk about like an XYZ building, we have this provider and this is what they've done, and attach the plans. Like, we basically want to know that you have a plan to engage with your residents and that you have somebody on board and that you understand the business of resident engagement. And that you have that capacity and that you have that person or that team, that service provider is partnered with you and you can call on them to come service your building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But we actually like drawn up and we've signed the contract already. It's more of like, this is what we've done before. This is their experience that they can speak to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, different scenario in PSH, but that's what we're
It's
talking
not
about.
PSH. It's just, general format. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Chris, I knew that wasn't the last question for you.
I just raised my hand to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you all. And like I said, we are recording, like transcribing the questions from this meeting and are going to be doing our best to put them in the Q&A that goes on our website. If you have more questions or you have feedback, you can always email us. Like if anything is like really confusing or jarringly frustrating, like can let us know. Okay.
Well, thank you. I know I had like the bulk of questions, so I appreciate you answering them, Hannah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah. This is super
Hannah.
helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Bye.